The Republican Party, sadly, has been led by cowards for the past several years. John Boehner and Lindsey Graham are right where Barack Obama wants them. They are right where Nancy Pelosi wants them. You don't hear too many attacks, personal attacks and campaigns against John Boehner. You ever notice that? Or Lindsey Graham? Or John McCain? Unless McCain's running for president, then they'll go after him. But they're pretty safe out there in the PR world. And that ought to give them cause for concern, or at least make them question why that might be. Now, Allen West, God bless him, he knew how to win. And that's why he was the only congressman, one of the only congressmen, to become the direct target of George Soros, the direct target of Nancy Pelosi, Bill Clinton. All these people were directly involved for the past 2 years, campaigning against one congressman, my congressman, actually. I had the pleasure of voting for West in the primaries and in the last general election before this one. And then they redistricted, and the local Republican Party, the Florida Republican Party, screwed Allen West out of his district. And that's a whole nother story. And they need to be held accountable. But the bottom line is, George Soros directly spent tens of millions of dollars to defeat Allen West. There is a reason. There is a reason why San Fran Freak Show, California, spent millions of dollars as well campaigning against Allen West here in Palm Beach County. Yeah, these San Fran Freak Show Californians bought signs and had them placed all around this district in the hood part that was given to Allen West thanks to these rhinos in the Florida legislature. That was not a part of his district before when he won. They spent millions of dollars. They made these signs. They were really ignoble and underhanded. They actually had West's name with the circle and the slash through it. And they were everywhere, posted everywhere, and they bamboozled black Americans that now were in his district. You might think that was ironic, but it wasn't ironic, that once they put black people in Allen West's district, he loses the race because of these cult-like victims who have been brainwashed by the despicable, disgraceful so-called leaders that they have in these churches, these demagogues, these false prophets like Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, and we have many of them here locally. The mayor of Riviera Beach, what's his name? So-called Reverend Thomas Masters, who used the cloth, who used the cross to advance his career, who was also he settled. He was involved in a pedophilia case many years ago with one of the children in his church, I gather. He wasn't convicted, but apparently there was some sort of settlement and millions of dollars were paid to the family of the child. But nevertheless, my point here is that Allen West knew how to win. The gates of hell came against this honorable man, this man who served his country valiantly for many years. And who did these people actually elect in lieu of him? A racist piece of crap, drunk, who had a conviction while Allen West was serving his country, had a conviction for assaulting a police officer in his drunken state as he was being arrested for a club fight. This piece of crap. You talk about a cult. You talk about a disgrace. This incredibly valiant hero, this man of incredible intellect, one of the few people, one of the few leaders who are African Americans, who worked all their lives serving their country, and they were rejected. He was rejected in favor of this piece of crap by the name of Murphy, who never worked a day in his life. He was a trust fund Johnny. And he bought this congressional seat with the help of Soros. Bill freaking Clinton literally came here and campaigned for him. We're talking about a congressman, a former two-term president impeached albeit, came here to my district to raise money this past year to defeat a one-term congressman, a first-term congressman, Alan West. That's how important he is. Do you see these people attacking Boehner and Graham and these sellouts in our party? No. And there's a reason for that, because they are here to sell us out. Oh yeah, they'll give us a few sound bites. You can count on that. Oh yeah, he's going to act like he's going to come out with this fake tan, as Mark Levin pointed out on yesterday's show. His fake tan, he's going to come out and act, well, he really fought hard for us, and some nice sound bites. He'll lead us to believe that he's fighting the good fight. But when it comes down to it, he's going to sell out. And it's a sad thing. After this past year campaigning, and all these people, these phonies, these people like Karl Rove that sold us this bullcrap about Mitt Romney, telling us that this election is so important and America's fate is at stake, and America will not last if Obama is reelected, telling us how dire it is, how important it is that we elect Mitt Romney, that we nominate Mitt Romney. And now these people are acting like it's business as usual. Oh, well, they won the election, so they have a mandate. This is war, people. We are at war against the evil empire, the same evil empire that Ronald Reagan described. The difference is that they've actually infiltrated our nation at the highest levels of government. You think about that. I grew up most of my life, my childhood, Ronald Reagan was president. That's all I knew. From the time I was 10 years old, he was elected. He was elected when I was 9 years old. And then we had 2 years of Reagan, and then 2 terms of Reagan, a term of Bush. That's all I knew. But Reagan wins the Cold War, and then a few presidents later, he's replaced by a guy that makes Mikhail Gorbachev look like freaking Barry Goldwater. We are at war, and these idiots are acting like it's business as usual and are ready to lay down and grab their ankles. That is unacceptable. Every single aspect of what the Soviets, what made them evil, there was a reason why Reagan called them the evil empire. What made them evil is actually culminated in this one man, Barack Obama. The communists were not evil because they lived in Russia or China or North Korea or Cuba. It's because of their world view. It is contrary to nature. There is good and there is evil. God created man to be free, to be able to have free will and control his destiny. God made man to be able to work, and by the sweat of his brow, to be able to reap the benefits, the fruits of his labor, or the lack thereof. His choice. And to be able to save it, to put that capital to work, to invest it, and to be rewarded by it, or not. But it is our choice. That is the natural state of man. That is called good. And anybody, any politician, snake oil salesman, evil SOB, who comes in and tickles the ears of people is of Lucifer, the one who is contrary to the natural state of man as created by God, the one who caused the fall of man. And he comes along and he tickles the ears of those who would use the strong arm of government to steal that which they have not labored for, who would use the strong arm of government to promulgate everything that is contrary to those fundamental ideals that were expatiated in our founding documents from the Declaration of Independence through the Constitution of the United States. Every single aspect of that, Barack Obama has assaulted, just as Satan perverts everything. You look at the Satanic Bible, Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible. I'm not saying go out and buy a copy, but I've perused it years ago, and it's a perversion of the Scripture. He basically goes through the scriptures and turns everything backwards. It contradicts everything that God said. And that is exactly what Barack Hussein Obama does to this day, and everything that he has done heretofore since being elected in 2008. We can spend hours talking about the litany of things that he has done, the injustices that he has promulgated, from suing states from protecting the border, which is their job, the very charter of the federal government, and suing the states and vilifying those who actually try to do what is right, to preserve justice, because we are a nation of laws. And he sues those states. And he and Eric Holder arm drug cartels who kill Americans serving our country, use those very guns to kill Americans. And then, that's not enough. That's treason in itself. But then the son of a bitch comes out in the media knowing that he's responsible for it, and then he uses that, the fact that nobody else knows, and blames it on Americans because we have a Second Amendment, because we have the right to bear arms. So he uses it, like the little Satan that he is, his own crime, to try to undermine our rights and further take away our rights to defend ourselves from rogue dictators like himself. And then you look at what he's doing in the military, the perversion with Nidal Hassan, just defending this terrorist and not calling him a terrorist, who is actually a terrorist by every piece of empirical evidence, proven and planned and murdered American soldiers from within. A Muslim terrorist. And this son of a bitch, again, this evil son of a bitch, is out there covering for him. We could go on and on with his lies about being for the sanctity of marriage when it was convenient, when he was running for election, and then coming out and assaulting the sanctity of marriage and supporting homosexual, quote-unquote, marriage, and then trying to push it within the military. Now so undermining our military to the point where not only did we eliminate Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but now he wants to make it so that we can further cause chaos within the military, further anarchy to weaken us before our external enemies, so he can make it so that people can turn the barracks into a gay love shack. He wants to give them the right to bunk together. I'm not kidding. This is real. This is news. This is one sick, evil bastard. And I feel so sorry for the military. I feel so sorry for those who are serving, that are forced to serve under this piece of crap. Because, I mean, what that has to do to your morale. I mean, it is no hyperbole. It is no embellishment to say that we have lost the Cold War because they have actually hijacked. The communists have hijacked. They have won. They haven't defeated us as people. They have not defeated us as states, sovereign states. But they have hijacked the federal government. They have tickled. It's like the movie Needful Things. I think of a few horror movies that come to mind as analogies whenever I'm thinking about this Barack Obama. And it makes me think of the movie Needful Things. It was an old Stephen King movie where this gentleman, very attractive, polished gentleman, comes in and into the town of course, Castle Rock. And he opens up this store where he's got something for everyone. And it appeals to their most base nature, their egos. And how he burrows his way into that community. Watch the trailer on YouTube. Put in Needful Things. And he takes this beautiful town of Castle Rock to the point where they're all killing each other, literally. And then he drives out of town after he destroys it. That is Barack freaking Hussein Obama right there, encapsulated within that movie. This is surreal, people. And I was listening to Rush Limbaugh today, and he had some good points about the Republicans how pathetic it is, how they're actually living under these delusions that they have leverage. They might have leverage with Barack Obama because he doesn't want his legacy to be tarnished, but going into another recession in a second term. That is the most naive, unbelievable thought process that I have heard in a long time. This guy does not care. You're projecting your own life, your own background, your own thought process, your own morals on this person as though this man does not have any resemblance whatsoever to you and your background. You cannot identify with this. If you look at the people with whom he surrounded himself his entire life, his mentors, his mother and father, this man has no other agenda. I've been saying this since 2007 and writing about it at tableofwisdom.com. His only agenda from day one was to foment civil war in this country, to destroy it and to replace it with his Marxist utopian fantasy. And anyone who thinks that he cares about his legacy from their perspective is delusional. And there is no overcoming the delusions of people who desire to be deluded. That's the bottom line. No matter what happens, the Republicans are going to receive the blame. The only chance that we have is to go into an all-out war, like never before. It's time to grow some balls, John Boehner and Lindsey Graham, or get out. If we need to if we can find enough congressmen with balls to remove this guy as speaker, we need to do it. It is time to stop worrying about civility. We never get civility with these Marxists. We never get fairness or truth from his media shills. It isn't going to happen. Stop deluding yourself and acting like this is 2004. Now, we had the gloves on during all of the past presidential campaigns, basically of my lifetime. We have fought with our gloves on. And we've never taken them off. But the Democrats have never worn gloves. In my entire life, I do not remember a time when the Democrats ever campaigned with civility, who ever talked about their opponents in a fair and noble way. These people don't know the meaning of the word honor or nobility. They have never fought with the gloves on. We have gotten in the ring, and we've been able to win because there were enough people back then left who were still alive from the quote-unquote greatest generation who they might have, had some Democrat tendencies by party and tradition, but when push came to shove, they did the right thing. They're not here anymore, people. We can't win with the gloves on. We could win with the gloves on, even though they were fighting with the gloves off back then. Not with these degenerates. It isn't going to happen. Now is the time for the nuclear option, because this is our last stand. There is no way about it. If we keep trying to think of ways to win the PR war in the eyes of the people who have degenerated into socialist lemmings, if we keep trying to win the PR with them, these people care nothing about anything other than being placated with entertainment. And if that's our goal, is to look good in their eyes, to be acceptable in their eyes, then this is our last stand. The only chance that we have is to take off the gloves, get in the cage, and slug it out on fundamental principles. Good versus evil. God versus Lucifer. And that has always been what this is about. Because we've never fought this war on that basis. We've pretended that the battle was just about everything other than good versus evil. That's why we've lost. We've been fighting the wrong enemy. We've been fighting a straw man, a distraction. We have, for the past 4 decades, denied who our enemy is. We have survived in denial, but we are paying the price. And it is coming to a point. And hey, I know it sounds radical, but if you wake up and look at what has happened and look at what this guy's agenda is, the radical approach to winning the war is the only chance that we have. We have nothing to lose by doing this, because we have placated these evil SOBs and further empowered them. I mean, if we continue to do what we do in order to win, then we are becoming them. And if we don't want to become them, they're coming for you. They're coming for us. Because they will accept nothing less than victory, which by their implacable standards means to conform you. Unless you defeat them, unless we defeat them in this last stand. This is the last chance this country has. It is time for people to, for once, see what the battle actually is. And that's where Allen West, that's where we miss him, because nobody in Congress was more effectual in elucidating on what this battle actually is. The man, his articulation, his wisdom, his lack of fear that must have emanated from his years of experience as an American hero serving his country in the battlefields. Nothing could intimidate that guy. He had something. He needs to come back. I say make him House Speaker, because you don't have to be an elected congressman in order to be nominated Speaker of the House. I know that's unlikely because we don't have enough congresspeople with balls. But we need to be, if I were going to make a title for this, I guess a good title would be, perhaps, We Are All Allen Wests Now. Because that is the kind of balls, fortitude, conviction, and bravery that is the only thing that will win this war. They didn't spend $10 million and send a two-term president down and San Fran freak show and tens of millions of George Soros dollars on a first-term congressman on a whim. There was a reason. It's time to wake up, people. Thank you for joining me. I'm Scott Ryan.